from jigging veins of rhyming mother wits, and such conceits as clownage keeps in pay, we lead you to the stately tent of war, where you shall hear the Scythian Tamburlaine threatening the world with high, astounding terms, and scourging kingdoms with his conquering sword. View but his picture in this tragic glass, and then applaud his fortunes as you please.
Brother Khosrow, I find myself aggrieved, yet insufficient to express the same, for it requires a great and thundering speech. Good brother, tell the cause unto my lords. I know you have a better wit than I.
Unhappy Persia, that in former age has been the seat of mighty conquerors, that in their prowess and their policies have triumphed over Africa and the bounds of Europe, thus to be ruled and governed by this man. Now Turks and Tartars shake their swords at thee, meaning to mangle all thy provinces.
Brother, I see your meaning well enough, and I perceive you think I am not wise enough to be a king. Meander, thou, my faithful counsellor, declare the cause of my conceived grief, which is God knows about that Tamburlaine, that like a fox in midst of harvest time doth prey upon my flocks of travellers, and as I hear, doth mean to pull my plumes.
Oft have I heard your majesty complain of Tamburlaine, that sturdy Scythian thief that robs your merchants of Persepolis, trading by land unto the western isles, and in your confines with his lawless train daily commits incivil outrages. Your grace hath given order to Theridamas, charged with 1,000 horse, to apprehend and bring him captive to your highness' throne.
Full true thou speakst, and like thyself, my lord. Therefore 'tis best, if so it like you all, to apprehend that paltry Scythian. How like you this, my honourable lords? Is it not a kingly resolution?
It cannot choose, because it comes from you.
Then hear thy charge, valiant Theridamas, the chiefest captain of my city's host, the hope of Persia, and the very legs whereon our state doth lean, as on a staff that holds us up and foils our neighbour foes. Thou shalt be leader of this 1,000 horse, whose foaming gall with rage and high disdain have sworn the death of wicked Tamburlaine. Return with speed. Time passeth swift away. Our life is frail, and we may die today.
Before the moon renew her borrowed light, doubt not, my lord and gracious sovereign, but Tamburlaine and that Tartarian rout shall either perish by our warlike hands, or plead for mercy at your highness' feet.
Go, stout Theridamas. Thy words are swords, and with thy looks thou conquerest all thy foes. I long to see thee back return from thence, that I may view these milk-white steeds of mine, all loaden with the heads of killed men, and from their knees even to their hoofs below, besmeared with blood that makes a dainty show.
And now, my lord, I humbly take my leave.
Theridamas, farewell 10,000 times. Go, Menophon, go into Scythia, and foot by foot follow Theridamas.
Nay, pray you, let him stay. A greater task fits Menophon than warring with a thief. Create him prorex of all Africa, that he may win the Babylonians' hearts, which will revolt from Persian government unless they have a wiser king than you.
Unless they have a wiser king than you? These are my brother's words. Meander, set them down.
And add this to them, that all Asia lament to see the folly of their king.
Well, here I swear by this my royal seat.
You may do well to kiss it then.
Embossed with silk as best beseems my state, to be revenged for these contemptuous words. Oh, where is duty and allegiance now? Fled to the Caspian or the ocean main? What shall I call thee? Brother? No, a foe. Monster of nature, shame unto thy stock, that darest presume thy sovereign for to mock. Meander, come. I am abused, Khosrow.
How now, my lord? What? Mated and amazed to hear the king, my cities, threaten thus?
Menaphon, I care not for his threats. But this it is that doth excruciate the very substance of my vexed soul, to see our neighbours, those who were wont to quake and tremble at the Persian monarch's name, now swarm in troops into the Eastern India, lading their ships with gold and precious stones, and make their spoils from all our provinces. The plot is laid by Persian noblemen and captains of the Median garrisons to crown me emperor of all Asia.
This should entreat your highness to rejoice, since fortune gives you the opportunity to gain the title of a conqueror by curing of this maimed empery. Africa and Europe bordering on your land, and continent to your dominions, how easily may you, with a mighty host, pass into Grecia as did Cyrus once, and cause them to withdraw their forces home?
Menaphon, what means this trumpet sound?
Behold, my lord, Ortygius and the rest bringing the crown to make you emperor.
Magnificent and mighty Prince Khosrow, we present thee with the imperial diadem.
The warlike soldiers and our gentlemen that heretofore have filled Persepolis with Afric captains taken in the field, whose ransom made them march in coats of gold, with costly jewels hanging at their ears and shining stones upon their lofty crests, now living idle in the warled towns, wanting both pay and martial discipline, begin in troops to threaten civil war, and openly exclaim against their king. Therefore, to stay all sudden mutinies, we will invest your highness emperor.
Well, since I see the state of Persia droop and languish in my brother's government, I willingly receive the imperial crown, and vow to wear it for my country's good. In spite of them shall malice my estate.
And in assurance of desired success, we here do crown thee monarch of the East, emperor of Asia and Persia, great lord of Media and Armenia, duke of Africa and Albania, Mesopotamia and of Parthia, East India and the late-discovered isles, chief lord of all the wide, vast Euxine Sea and of the ever-raging Caspian Lake.
Long live Khosrow, mighty emperor! And Jove may never let me longer live than I may seek to gratify your love. I doubt not shortly but to reign sole king, and with the army of Theridamas, whither we presently will fly, my lords, to rest secure against my brother's force.
Sound up the trumpets, then!
Khosrow, the king!
Oh, come, lady. Let not this appall your thoughts. The jewels and the treasure we have taken shall be reserved, and you in better state than if you were arrived in Syria, even encircled in your father's arms, the mighty Sultan of Egyptia.
Shepherd, pity my distressed plight, and seek not to enrich thy followers by lawless rapine from a helpless maid, travelling with these Median lords to Memphis from my uncle's country of Medea, bearing his signature and his privy signet to safe conduct us through Africa.
And, since we have arrived in Scythia, besides rich presents from the Tartar Emperor, we have His Highness's letters to command aid and assistance if we stand in need.
But now, you see, these letters and commands are countermanded by a greater man. And through my provinces, you must expect letters of conduct from my mightiness, if you intend to keep your treasure safe. But tell me, madam, Is your grace betrothed?
I am, my lord, for so you do import.
I am a lord, for so my deeds shall prove, and yet a shepherd by my parentage. But, lady, this fair face and heavenly hue must grace his bed that conquers Asia and means to be a terror to the world, measuring the limits of his empery by east and west as Phoebus doth his course. Lie here, ye shepherds' weeds, that I disdain to wear. This complete armour and this kirtle axe are adjuncts more beseeming Tamburlaine. Both may invest Xenocrate as empress of the east, as with their weight shall make the mountains quake, even as when windy exhalations fighting for passage tilt within the earth.
As princely lions when they rouse themselves, stretching their paws and threatening herds of beasts, so in his armour looketh Tamburlaine. Methinks I see kings kneeling at his feet, and he with frowning brows and fiery looks, spurning the crowns from off the captive heads.
And making me and thee to kill his kings, that even to death will follow Tamburlaine.
Nobly resolved, sweet friends and followers. These lords perhaps do scorn our estimates, and think we prattle with distempered spirits. But, since they measure our deserts so mean, they shall be kept our forced followers till with their eyes they view us emperors.
The gods, defenders of the innocent, will never prosper your intended drifts. Therefore at least admit us liberty, even as thou hopest to be eternized as living Asia's mighty emperor.
I hope our lady's treasure and our own may serve for ransom to our liberties. Return our mules and empty camels back, that we may travel into Syria, and wheresoever we repose ourselves, we will report but well of Tamburlaine.
Disdains Xenocrate to live with me? Or you, my lords, to be my followers? And think you I weigh this treasure more than you? Not all the gold in India's wealthy arms shall buy the meanest soldier in my train. Xenocrate, lovelier than the love of Jove, brighter than is the silver Rhodope, fairer than whitish snow on Scythian hills. Thy person is more worth to Tamburlaine than the possession of the Persian crown which gracious stars have presaged at my birth. 100 Tartars shall attend on thee, mounted on steeds swifter than Pegasus. Thy garments shall be made of Median silk, encased with precious jewels of mine own, more rich and valueless than Xenocrate's. With milk-white hearts upon an ivory sled, thou shalt be drawn amidst the frozen pools and scale the icy mountains' lofty tops, which with thy beauty will soon be resolved. My martial prizes with 500 men, one on the head of 50-headed Volga's waves, shall we all offer to Xenocrate, and then myself to fair Xenocrate.
What now? In love?
To Kelly's women must be flattered. But this is she with whom I am in love.
News!
How now, what's the matter?
1,000 Persian horsemen are at hand, sent from the king to overcome us all.
How now, my lords of Egypt and Xenocrate? Now must your jewels be restored again? And I, the triumph show, be overcome? How say you, lordings? Is not this your hope?
We hope yourself will willingly restore them.
Soft ye, my lords, and sweet Xenocrate. 1,000 horsemen? We 500 foot. An odds too great for us to stand against. But are they rich? And is their armour good?
Their plumid helms are wrought with beaten gold, their swords enamelled, and about their necks hang massy chains of gold down to the waist. In every part exceeding brave and rich.
Then shall we fight courageously with them?
Aye, my lord, aye!
Oh, look you, I should play the orator.
No, never!
Like cowards and faint-hearted runaways look for orations when the foe is near. Our sword shall play the orators for us!
Come, let us meet them at the mountain top, and with a sudden and hot alarum drive all their horses headlong down the hill.
Come, let us march!
Stay, to Kelly's. ask a parley first. Men! I pray you, soldiers, yet guard the treasure sure, lay out our golden ingots to the view, that their reflections may amaze the Persians. And look we friendly on them when they come. But if they offer word or violence, we'll fight 500 men at arms to 1 before we part with our possession. Against the general we will lift our swords and either lance his greedy, thirsting throat or take him prisoner. And his chain shall serve for manacles till he be ransomed home.
I hear them come. Shall we encounter them?
Keep all your standings and not stir a foot. Myself will bide the danger of the brunt.
Where is this Scythian Tamburlaine?
Whom seekest thou, Persian? I am Tamburlaine.
Tamburlaine? A Tartar shepherd so embellished with nature's pride and richest furniture. His looks to menace heaven and dare the gods. His fiery eyes are fixed upon the earth as if he now devised some stratagem, or meant to pierce Avernus' darksome bolts to pull the triple-headed dog from hell.
Noble and mild this Persian seems to be, if I would have it judge the inward man.
His deep affections make him passionate.
With what a majesty he rears his looks. In thee, valiant man of Persia, I see the folly of thy emperor. Art thou but captain of 1,000 horse, that by characters graven in thy brows and by thy martial face and stout aspect deserve to have the leading of a host? Forsake thy king and do but join with me, and we will triumph over all the world. I hold the fates bound fast in iron chains, and with my hand turn fortune's wheel about. And sooner shall the sun fall from his sphere than Tamburlaine be slain or overcome. Draw forth thy sword, thy mighty man-at-arms, intending but to graze my charmed skin, and Jove himself will stretch his hand from heaven toward the blow, and shield me safe from harm. See how he rains down heaps of gold in showers, as if he meant to give my soldiers pay. And as a sure and grounded argument that I shall be the monarch of the East, he sends this Sultan's daughter, rich and brave, to be my queen and stately empress. If thou wilt stay with me, renowned man, and lead thy 1,000 horse by my conduct, besides thy share of this Egyptian prize, those 1,000 horse shall sweat with martial spoil of conquered kingdoms and of cities sacked. Both we will walk upon the lofty cliffs, and Christian merchants that with Russian fleets plough up huge furrows in the Caspian Sea shall vail to us as lords of all the lake. Both we will reign as consuls of the earth, and mighty kings shall be our senators. Jove disguised himself in shepherd's weed, and when my name and honour shall be spread as far as Boreas claps his brazen wings, then shalt thou be competitor with me, and sit with Tamburlaine in all his majesty.
Not Hermes, prolocutor to the gods, could use persuasions more pathetical.
We are his friends, and if the Persian king should offer present dukedoms to our state, we think at loss to make exchange for that.
And kingdoms at the least we all expect, besides the honour and assured conquests.
What strong enchantments ticed my yielding soul to these resolved noble Scythians? But shall I prove a traitor to my king?
No, but a trusty friend of Tamburlaine.
Won with thy words and conquered with thy looks, as long as life maintains Theridamas.
Theridamas, my friend, take here my hand, which is as much as if I swore by heaven and called the gods to witness of my vow. Thus shall my heart be still combined with thine, until our bodies turn to elements and both our souls aspire celestial thrones. To Kelly's, Usam Cassane, welcome him.
Welcome, renowned Persian, to us all, eh? Long may Theridamas remain with us.
These are my friends, in whom I more rejoice than doth the king of Persia in his crown. Make much of them, gentle Theridamas, and they will never leave thee till the death.
Nor thee, nor them, thrice noble Tamburlaine, shall want my heart to be with gladness pierced, to do you honour and security.
1,000 thanks, worthy Theridamas. And now, fair madam, and my noble lords, if you will willingly remain with me, you shall have honours as your merits be, or else you shall be forced with slavery.
We yield unto thee, happy Tamburlaine.
For you then, madam, I am out of doubt.
I must be pleased perforce. Wretched Zenocrate.
Thus far are we towards Theridamas and valiant Tamburlaine, the man of fame, the man that in the forehead of his fortune bears figures of renown and miracle. But tell me, that has seen him, Menaphon, what stature wields he, and what personage?
Of stature tall and straightly fashioned, like his desire, good my lord Khosrow. So large of limbs, his joints so strongly knit, such breadth of shoulders as might mainly bear old Atlas' burden. Twixt that manly pitch, a pearl more worth than all the world is placed, wherein, by curious sovereignty of art, are fixed his piercing instruments of sight, whose fiery circles bear encompassed a heaven of heavenly bodies in their spheres, that guides his steps and actions to the throne, where honor sits invested royally. Pale of complexion, wrought in him with passion, thirsting with sovereignty and love of arms, his lofty brows in folds do figure death, and in their smoothness, amity and life. About them hangs a knot of amber hair, wrapped in curls as fierce Achilles was, on which the breath of heaven delights to play, making it dance with wanton majesty. In every part, proportioned like the man, should make the world subdued to Tamburlaine.
Well hast thou portrayed in thy terms of life the face and personage of a wondrous man, that could persuade, with reasons of his valor and his life, 1,000 sworn and overmatching foes. Then, when our powers in points of swords are joined, and when the princely Persian diadem shall overweigh my brother's weary head, and fall like mellowed fruit with shakes of death, fair Persia, noble Tamburlaine, shall be my regent.
In happy hour we have set the crown upon your kingly head.
Our army will be 40,000 strong when Tamburlaine and brave Theridamas have met us by the river Araris, and all conjoin to meet the witless king that seeks revenge on me and Tamburlaine, to whom, sweet Menaphon, direct me straight.
I will, my lord. On!
Come, my meander.
My lord, my cities.
I tell you true, my heart is swollen with wrath on this same thievish villain, Tamburlaine. And of that false Khosrow, my traitorous brother. Would it not grieve a king to be so abused and have 1,000 horsemen ta'en away? Oh, by heavens, I swear, Aurora shall not peep out of her doors, but I will have Khosrow by the head and kill proud Tamburlaine with point of sword. Tell you the rest, Meander.
Then, having passed Armenian deserts now, and pitched our tents under the Georgian hills, whose tops are covered with Tartarian thieves that lie in ambush waiting for a prey, what should we do but bid them battle straight, and rid the world of those detested troops that live by rapine and by lawless spoil, fit soldiers for the wicked Tamburlaine. Therefore cheer up your minds, prepare to fight. He that can take or slaughter Tamburlaine shall rule the province of Albania. Who brings that traitor's head, Theridamas, shall have a government in Medea, beside the spoil of him and all his train.
But if Prince Khosrow, as our spies say, and as we know, remains with Tamburlaine, His Highness' pleasure is that he should live and be reclaimed with princely lenity.
100 horsemen of my company, scouting abroad upon these champion plains, have viewed the army of the Scythians, which make report it far exceeds the king.
Suppose they be in number infinite, yet being void of martial discipline, or running headlong, greedy after spoils, and more regarding gain than victory, will make us triumph in their overthrow.
Go on, my lord, and give your charge, I say. Thy wit will make us conquerors today.
Then, noble generals, to entrap these thieves that live confounded in disordered troops, if wealth or riches may prevail with them, we have our camels laden all with gold, which you that be but common soldiers shall fling in every corner of the field. And while the base-born Tartars take it up, you, fighting more for honor than for gold, shall massacre those greedy-minded slaves. And when their scattered army is subdued, and you march on their slaughtered carcasses, share equally the gold that bought their lives, and live like gentlemen in Persia. Strike up the drum, and march courageously. Fortune herself doth sit upon our crest.
He tells you true, my good friends, so he does. Drums! Why sound ye not when Lord Meander speaks?
Now, worthy Tamburlaine, have I reposed in thy approved fortunes all my hope. What thinkst thou, man, shall come of our attempts? For, even as from a assured oracle, I take thy judgment for a certainty.
And so mistake you not a whit, my lord. The fates and oracles of heaven have sworn to royalize the deeds of Tamburlaine and make them blessed that share in his attempts. And if you favour me, Lord Khosrow, and let my fortunes and my valour sway the same direction as your martial deeds, the world will strive with hosts of men-at-arms to swarm unto the ensign I support. The host of Xerxes, which by fame is said to drink the mighty Parthian Araris, was but a handful to that we will have. Our quivering lances, shaking in the air, shall threat the gods more than Cyclopean wars.
You see, my lord, what moving words he has, and you will see his actions top his speech, and I shall be commended and excused for turning my poor charge to his direction.
With duty and with amity we yield our utmost service to the Lord Khosrow,
Which I esteem as portion of my crown. Usum Kazane and Techeles both, your valours shall make me solely Emperor of Asia, and you advance to rooms of honour and nobility.
Then haste, Khosrow, to be king alone, that I with these my friends and all my men may triumph in our long-expected fate. The king, your brother, is now hard at hand. Meet with the fool, and rid your royal shoulders of such a burden as outweighs the sands and all the craggy rocks of Caspian.
My lord, we have discovered the enemy, ready to charge you with a mighty army.
Come, Tamburlaine. Now whet thy winged sword, and lift thy lofty arm into the clouds, that it may reach the king of Persia's crown, and set it safe on my victorious head.
This winged curtle axe shall fly as swift as doth the lightning or the breath of heaven, and kill as sure as it swiftly flies.
Thy words assure me of kind success. Go, valiant soldier, go before, and charge the fainting army of that foolish king.
Usum Kasane and Achilles come. We are now to scur the enemy, and more than needs to make an emperor.
Cursed be he that first invented war. They knew not, they knew not, simple men, how those, when hit by pelting cannon shot, stand staggering like a quivering aspen leaf, faring the north wind's boisterous blasts. Oh, in what a lamentable case were I, Mycetes, king of ancient Persia, if nature had not given me wisdom's law. For kings are game that every man shoots at. Our crown, the bullseye, thousands seek to cleave. Therefore, in policy, I think it good to hide this crown of mine. A goodly stratagem. So shall not I be known. Or, if I be, they cannot take away my crown from me. Here will I hide it in this simple hole.
What fearful coward! Straggling from the camp when kings themselves are present in the field.
Thou liest.
Base villain, darest thou give me the lie?
Away! I am the king. Go, touch me not. Thou break'st the law of arms, unless thou kneel and cry me, mercy, noble king.
Are you the witty king of Persia?
Aye, marry am I. Have you any suit to me?
I would entreat you to speak but 3 wise words.
So I can, when I see my time.
Is this your crown?
Aye. Didst thou ever see a fairer?
You will not sell it, will you?
Oh, such another word, and I will have thee executed. Come, give it me.
No, I took it prisoner.
You lie! I gave it you.
Then 'tis mine.
No, I mean I let you keep it.
Well, I mean you shall have it again. Here, take it for a while. I'll lend it thee till I may see thee hemmed with armoured men. Then shalt thou see me pull it from thy head. Thou art no match for mighty Tamburlaine.
Oh, gods. Is this Tamburlaine the thief? I marvel much he stole it not away.
Hold thee, Khosrow. We're 2 imperial crowns. Think thou invested now as royally, even by the mighty hand of Tamburlaine, as if as many kings had crowned thee emperor.
So do I. So do I, thrice renowned man-at-arms. Thee do I make my regent of Persia, and general lieutenant of my armies, since my brother yielded to the stroke of war. Meander, you that were our brother's guide and chiefest counsellor in all his acts, on your submission we with thanks excuse, and give you equal place in our affairs.
Most happy Emperor, in humblest terms I vow my service to your majesty, with utmost virtue of my faith and duty.
Thanks, good Meander. Then Khosrow reign, and govern Persia in her former pomp. Let neighbour kings know the Persian king is changed, from one that knew not what a king should do to one that can command. Now we will to fair Persepolis with 20,000 expert soldiers, the lords and captains of my brother's camp, with little slaughter gladly yield them to my gracious rule. Then will we march to all those Indian mines, my witless brother to the Christians' loss, and ransom them for glory and advantage, until thou overtake me, Tamburlaine, staying to order all the scattered troops. Farewell, Lord Regent and his happy friends. I long to sit upon my brother's throne.
Your Majesty shall shortly have your wish, and ride in triumph through Persepolis.
And ride in triumph through Persepolis. Is it not brave to be a king, Techeles? Husum Cassane and Theridamas, is it not passing brave to be a king? and ride in triumph through Persepolis.
Oh, my lord, it is sweet and full of bomb. To be a king is half to be a god.
Oh, God is not so glorious as a king. I think the pleasure they enjoy in heaven cannot compare with kingly joys on earth.
To ask and have, command and be obeyed.
When looks breed love, with looks to gain the prize, such power attractive shines in princes' eyes.
Why, say, Theridamas, wilt thou be a king?
Nay, though I praise it, I can live without it.
What say my other friends? Will you be kings?
Aye, oh, if I could, with all my heart, my lord.
Well, that's well said, Achilles. So would I.
What then, my lord?
Why, Usum Cassine, shall we wish for aught the world affords in greatest novelty, and rest attemptless, faint, and destitute? Methinks we should not. I am strongly moved that if I should desire the Persian crown, would not all our soldiers soon consent if we should aim at such a dignity?
I know they would with our persuasion.
Why then, Theridamas, I'll first essay to get the Persian kingdom to myself. Then thou for Parthia, you for Scythia, and you for Medea.
Then shall we send to this triumphing king and bid him battle for his novel crown?
'Twill prove a pretty jest in faith, my friends. For presently Achilles here shall haste to bid him battle ere he pass too far, and lose more labour than the gain is worth. Then shalt thou see this Scythian Tamburlaine make but a jest to win the Persian crown. Achilles, take 1,000 horse with thee, and bid this Khosrow back to war with us, that only made him king to make us sport. We will not steal upon him cowardly, but give him warning and more warriors. Haste thee, Achilles, we will follow thee. What saith Theridamas?
'Tis right with me.
What means this devilish shepherd to aspire with such a giantly presumption to cast up hills against the face of heaven and dare the force of angry Jupiter? But as he thrust them underneath the hills and pressed out fire from their burning jaws, so will I send this monstrous slave to hell, where flames shall ever feed upon his soul.
Some powers divine or else infernal mixed their angry seeds at his conception.
What god, or fiend, or spirit of the earth, or monster turned to a manly shape, or of what mould or metal he be made, what star or fates soever govern him, let us put on our right encountering minds, and in detesting such a devilish thief, in love of honour and defence of right, be armed against the hate of such a foe, whether from earth or hell or heaven he grow.
Oh, nobly resolved, my good Ortygius, and since we have all sucked one wholesome air, and with the same proportion of elements resolve, I hope we are resembled, vowing our loves to equal death and life. Let's cheer our soldiers to encounter him, that grievous image of ingratitude, that fiery thirster after sovereignty, and burn him in the fury of that flame that none can quench but blood and empery. Resolve, my lords and loving soldiers, now to save your king and country from decay. Then strike up, drum, and all the stars that make the loathsome circle of my dated life. Direct my weapon to his barbarous heart, that thus opposeth him against the gods, and scorns the powers that govern Persia. Tamburlaine, thus to deprive me of my crown and life. Treacherous and false, Theridamas, even at the morning of my happy state, scarce being seated in my royal throne to work my downfall, an untimely end. An uncouth pain torments my grieved soul. Death arrests the organ of my voice. who entering at the breach thy sword hath made sex every vein and artery of my heart. Bloody and insatiate Tamburlaine.
The thirst of rain and sweetness of a crown that caused the eldest son of heavenly Ops to thrust his doting father from his chair and place himself in the imperial heaven moved me to manage arms against thy state. What better precedent than mighty Jove, Nature that framed us of four elements warring within our breasts for regiment doth teach us all to have aspiring minds, our souls, whose faculties can comprehend the wondrous architecture of the world and measure every wandering planet's course, still climbing after knowledge infinite and always moving as the restless spheres will us to whir ourselves and never rest, until we reach the ripest fruit of all, that perfect bliss and soul felicity, the sweet fruition of an earthly crown.
That made me to join with Tamburlaine, for he is gross and like the massy earth that moves not upwards, nor by princely deeds doth mean to soar above the highest sort.
And that made us the friends of Tamburlaine, to lift our swords against the Persian king.
For as when Jove did thrust old Saturn down, so do we hope to reign in Asia, if Tamburlaine be placed in Persia.
Strangest men that ever nature made. I know not how to take their tyrannies. My bloodless body waxeth chill and cold, and with my blood my life slides through my wound. My soul begins to take a flight to hell, and summons all my senses to depart. And now does ghastly death with greedy talons gripe my bleeding heart, and like a harpy tires on my life, Theridamas and Tamburlaine I die, and fearful vengeance light upon you both.
Give me his crown. Not all the curses which the Furies breathe shall make me leave so rich a prize as this. Theridamas, Achilles, and the rest, who think you now is king of Persia?
Tamburlaine! Tamburlaine!
Though Mars himself, the angry god of arms, and all the earthly potentates conspire to dispossess me of this diadem, yet will I wear it in despite of them. As great commander of this eastern world, if but you say that Tamburlaine shall reign.
Long live Tamburlaine, and reign in Asia!
So, now it is more surer on my head than if the gods had held a parliament, and all pronounced me king of Persia.
Great kings of Barbary and my portly vassals, we hear the Tartars and the eastern thieves, under the conduct of one Tamburlaine, presume a bickering with your emperor, and think to rouse us from our dreadful siege of the famous Grecian Constantinople? You know our army is invincible. As many circumcised Turks we have, and warlike bands of Christian apostates as hath the ocean or the Tyrrhene Sea, small drops of water when the moon begins to join in one her semicircled horns. Yet would we not be braved with foreign power, nor raise our siege before the Grecians yield.
Bajazeth, mighty general and renowned emperor of the Turks, what if you sent the vassals of your god to charge him to remain in Asia, or else to threaten death and deadly arms?
Hie thee, my vassal! Fast to Persia. Tell him thy lord, the Turkish emperor, dread lord of Africa, Europe, and Asia, great king and conqueror of Gracia, the ocean, terrene, and the cold Black Sea, the high and highest monarch of the world, wills and commands, for say not I entreat, not once to set his foot in Africa, lest he incur the fury of my wrath. Tell him I am content to take a truce, because I hear he bears a valiant mind. But if, before the sun hath measured heaven with triple circuit, thou regret us not, we mean to fetch thee back in spite of him.
Most great and puissant monarch of the earth, your basso will accomplish your behest. My lords of Fez, Morocco, and Algiers.
They call him now the King of Persia. But if he dare attempt to block your siege, 'twere requisite he should be 10 times more, for all flesh quakes at your magnificence.
True, Morocco, ha! And trembles at my looks.
The spring is hindered by your smothering horde, for neither rain can fall upon the earth, nor sun reflects his virtuous beams thereon. The ground is mantled with such multitudes.
All this as true as holy Mahomet, and all the trees are blasted with our breaths.
What thinks your greatness best to be achieved, pursuing Constantinople's overthrow?
I will cut off the water that by leaden pipes runs to the city from the mountain Carnon. 2,000 horse shall forage up and down, that no relief or succor come by land, and all the sea my galleys countermand. Then shall our footmen lie within the trench, and with their cannons mouthed like Orcus Gulf, batter the walls, and we will enter in. And thus the Grecians shall be conquered.
Madam Zenocrate, may I presume to know the cause of these unquiet fits that work such trouble to your wonted rest? 'Tis more than pity that such a heavenly face should by heart sorrow wax so wan and pale, when your offensive rape by Tamburlaine, which of your many insults should be most, hath seemed to be digested long ago.
Although it be digested long ago, as his exceeding favours have deserved, which have changed my first conceived disdain, yet since a farther passion feeds my thoughts with ceaseless and disconsolate conceits, and which dye my looks so lifeless as they are, and might, if my extremes had full events, make me the ghastly counterfeit of death.
Eternal heaven sooner be dissolved, and all that pierceth Phoebus' silver eye, before such hack.
Which is that Median lord speaks with my lady?
Good Tamburlaine, the Lord Agidas, as I believe.
My body senseless as the earth, that I may live and die with Tamburlaine.
With Tamburlaine? Oh, fair Zenocrate, thou not a man so vile and barbarous that holds you from your father in despite, and keeps you from the honours of a queen, considered now his worthless concubine, be honoured with your love but for necessity. So, now the mighty Sultan hears of you, your highness needs not doubt, but in short time he will, with Tamburlaine's destruction, redeem you from this deadly servitude.
Cease to wound me with these words, and speak of Tamburlaine as he deserves. The entertainment we have had of him is far from villainy or servitude, and might, in noble minds, be counted princely.
Well, how can you fancy one that looks so fierce, only disposed to martial stratagems, who, when he shall embrace you in his arms, will tell how many 1,000 men he slew, and when you look for amorous discourse, will rattle forth his facts of war and blood, too harsh a subject for your dainty ears?
As looks the sun through Nilus's flowing stream, or when the morning holds him in her arms, so looks my lordly love, fair Tamburlaine. His talk much sweeter than the Muses' song they sung for honour 'gainst Pyrades, or when Minerva did with Neptune strive. And higher would I rear my estimate than Juno, sister to the highest god, if I were matched with mighty Tamburlaine.
Yet be not so inconstant in your love, but let that young Arabian king live in hope, who after your rescue will enjoy his choice with you in his kingdom of Arabia, whereas this new-made king of Persia, who, being a shepherd, seemed to love you much, now, in his majesty, he leaves those looks, those words of favour, and those comfortings, and gives no more than common courtesies.
Thence rise the tears that so disdain my cheeks, fearing to lose his love through my unworthiness. My lord.
Come thee hence, I pray, Zenocrate.
I come, my lord.
Betrayed by fortune and suspicious love, threatened with frowning wrath and jealousy, surprised with fear of hideous revenge, I stand aghast. Upon his brows was portrayed ugly death, and in his eyes the fury of his heart, that shone as comets, menacing revenge, and cast a pale complexion on his cheeks, as when the seaman sees the Hyades gather an army of Cimmerian clouds, Auster and Achillon with winged steeds, all sweating, tilt about the watery heavens, with shivering spears enforcing thunderclaps, and from their shields strike flames of lightning. All fearful folds his sails, and sounds the main, lifting his prayers to the heavens for aid against the terror of the winds and waves. So fares Aegidas for the late-felt frowns, that send a tempest to my daunted thoughts.
See you, Aegidas, how the king salutes you? He bids you prophesy what this imports.
More honour and less pain it may procure to die by this resolved hand of thine, than stay the torments he and heaven hath sworn. So haste, Aegidas, and prevent the plagues which thy prolonged fates may draw on thee. Go, wander free from fear of tyrant's rage, removed from the torments and the hell wherewith he may excruciate thy soul, and let Aegidas, by Aegidas, die, and with this stab slumber eternally.
Faith, fancy Kelly's it was manly done. Let us afford him now the bearing hence, and crave his triple worthy burial.
We will honour him.
Basso! By this thy master Bajazeth knows. I mean to meet him in Bithynia.
Your men are valiant, but their number few, and cannot terrify his mighty host.
Tush, Turks are full of brags, and menace more than they can well perform. His fortune is too weak. View well my camp. Do not my captains and my soldiers look as if they meant to conquer Africa?
My lord, Bajazeth, the great commander of the world, besides 15 contributory kings, hath now in arms 10,000 Janissaries, mounted on lusty Mauritanian steeds, brought to the war by men of Tripoli.
The more he brings, the greater is the spoil. For when they perish by our warlike hands, we mean to set our footmen on their steeds and rifle all those stately Janissaries.
But tell me, Basso, will those kings accompany your lord?
Such as his highness please, but some must stay to rule the provinces he late subdued.
Let him bring millions, infinite of men, unpeopling Western Africa and Greece, for Tamburlaine, that in a trice vanquished 2 kings, shall rouse him out of Europe and pursue his scattered army till they yield or die!
Well said, Theridamus! Speak in that mood, for will and shall best fitteth Tamburlaine. I that am termed the scourge and wrath of God, the only fear and terror of the world, will first subdue the Turk, Theridamus.
Aye, my lord.
And then enlarge those Christian captives which you keep as slaves, who naked row about the Terrian Sea, burdening their bodies with your heavy chains and feeding them with thin and slender fare. And when they chance to rest or breathe apace, are punished with bastonians so grievously that they lie panting on the galley side and strive for life at every stroke they give. These are the cruel pirates of Algiers, the damned train, the scum of Africa, inhabited with straggling renegades that make quick havoc of the Christian blood. But as I live, that town shall curse the time that Tamburlaine set foot in Africa!
Bassos and Janissaries of my God, attend upon the person of your lord.
The greatest potentate of Africa!
My Lord Tamburlaine!
'Tis Bajazeth!
Has come to parley!
Takeles and the rest, prepare your swords. I mean to encounter with that Bajazeth.
Kings of Fez, Morocco, and Algiers. He calls me Bajazeth, whom you call Lord. Note the presumption of this Scythian slave. I tell thee, villain, those that lead my horse have to their names titles of dignity, and darest thou bluntly call me Bajazeth?
And know thou, Turk, that those which lead my horse shall lead thee captive throughout Africa. And darest thou bluntly call me Tamburlaine?
I swear by Mahomet, my kinsman's sepulchre, you shall be made a chaste and lastless eunuch, and in my sorrow tend my concubines, and all your captains that thus stoutly stand shall draw the chariot of my empress, whom I have brought to see their overthrow.
By this, my sword that conquered Persia, thy fall shall make me famous through the world. I will not tell thee how I'll handle thee, but every common soldier of my camp shall smile to see thy miserable state.
What means the mighty Turkish emperor to talk with one so base as Tamburlaine?
Ye Moors and valiant kings of Barbary, how can ye suffer these indignities?
Leave words, Lord Bajazeth, and let them feel your lance's points, which glided through the bowels of the Greeks.
Well said, my stout contributory kings. Your threefold army and my huge host shall swallow up these base-born Scythians.
Puissant, renowned, and mighty Tamburlaine, why stay we thus prolonging of their lives?
I long to see those crowns won by our swords, that we may rule as kings of Africa.
What coward would not fight for such a prize?
Fight all courageously and be you kings. I speak it, and my words are oracles.
Sabina,
my lord,
mother of my youthful sons, who when they come unto their father's age will batter turrets with their manly fists. Sit here, and on thy head wear my imperial crown, until I bring this sturdy Tamburlaine and all his captains bound in captive chains.
Such good success happened to Bajazeth.
Zenocrate,
My love.
the loveliest maid alive, fairer than rocks of pearl and precious stone, the only paragon of Tamburlaine, whose eyes are brighter than the lamps of heaven and speech more pleasant than sweet harmony, that with thy looks canst clear the darkened sky and calm the rage of thundering Jupiter. Sit down by her, that foul Turkish empress, as if thou wert the empress of the world. Stir not, Zenocrate, until thou see me march victorious with all my men, triumphing over him and these his kings, which I will bring as vassals to thy feet. Till then, take thou my crown, vaunt of my worth, and manage words with her as we will arms.
And may my love, the King of Persia, return with victory and free from wound.
Now shalt thou feel the force of Turkish arms, which lately made all Europe quake for fear. I have of Turks, Arabians, Moors, and Jews enough to cover all Bithynia. Let thousands die. Their slaughtered carcasses shall serve for walls and bulwarks to the rest. And as the heads of Hydra, so my power, subdued, shall stand as mighty as before. Thou know'st not, foolish hardy Tamburlaine, what 'tis to meet me in the open field, that leave no ground for thee to march upon.
Our conquering swords shall marshal us the way we are used to march upon the slaughtered foe, trampling their bowels with our horses' hoofs. Brave horses bred on the white Tartarian hills. Legions of spirits fleeting in the air. Direct our bullets and our weapons' points and make your strokes to wound the senseless light. And when she sees our bloody colours spread, then victory begins to take her flight, resting herself upon my milk-white tent. But come, my lords, to weapons let us fall. The field is ours, the Turk, his wife and all.
Come, kings and vassals, let us glut our swords that thirst to drink the feeble Persian blood!
Base concubine, must thou be placed by me that am the empress of the mighty Turk?
Disdainful Turkess and unreverend boss, call'st thou me concubine that am betrothed unto the great and mighty Tamburlaine?
To Tamburlaine, the great Tartarian thief.
Thou wilt repent these lavish words of thine when thy great basso master and thyself must plead for mercy at his kingly feet, and sue to me to be your advocate.
And sue to thee? I tell thee, shameless girl, thou shalt be laundress to my waiting maid. How likest thou obey her? Will she serve?
Madam, she thinks perhaps she is too fine. But I shall turn her into other weeds and make her dainty fingers fall to work.
Hear'st thou, Anipe, how thy drudge doth talk, and how my slave her mistress menaceth? Both for their sauciness shall be employed to serve the common soldiers meat and drink, for we will scorn they should come near ourselves.
Yet sometimes let your highness send for them to do the work my chambermaid disdains.
Ye gods and powers that govern Persia, and made my lordly love her worthy king, now strengthen him against the Turkish Bazajeth.
Now Muhammad solicit God himself, and make him rain down murdering shot from heaven to dash the Scythians' brains and strike them dead, that dare to manage arms against him that offer jewels to thy sacred shrine, when first he warred against the Christians.
By this the Turks lie weltering in their blood, and Tamburlaine is lord of Africa.
Thou art deceived. I heard the trumpet sound as when my emperor overthrew the Greeks and led them captive into Africa. Straight will I use thee as thy pride deserves. Prepare thyself to live and die my slave.
If Mahomet should come from heaven and swear my royal lord is slain or conquered, yet should he not persuade me otherwise, but that he lives and will be conqueror.
Now, King of Bassos, who is conqueror?
Thou, by the fortune of this damned foil!
Where are your stout contributory kings?
We have their crowns, their bodies strew the field.
Each man a crown. Why, kingly fort in faith, deliver them into my treasury.
Now let me offer to my gracious lord his royal crown again, so highly won.
Nay, take the Turkish crown from her, Zenocrate, and crown me Emperor of Africa!
No, Tamburlaine!
Give her the crown, Turkis, you a bastard!
Oh, injurious villains, thieves, renegades! How dare you thus abuse my majesty?
Here, madam, you are empress, she is none.
My thanks, kind friend Theridamas.
Though he be prisoner, he may be ransomed.
Not all the world shall ransom Bajazeth. Zenocrate!
Fair Zabina, we have lost the field. And never had the Turkish emperor so great a foil by any foreign foe. Now will the Christian miscreants be glad, ringing with joy their superstitious bells and making bonfires for my overthrow. But ere I die, those foul idolaters shall make me bonfires with their filthy bones. For though the glory of this day be lost, Africa and Greece have garrison enough to make me sovereign of the earth again.
Those walled garrisons will I subdue, Senocrate, and write myself great lord of Africa. So from the east unto the furthest west shall Tamburlaine extend his puissant arm. The galleys and those piling brigandines that yearly sail to the Venetian Gulf and hover in the straits for Christian wreck shall lie at anchor, till the Persian fleet and men of war sail along the Oriental Sea and fetch about the Indian continent, even from Persepolis to Mexico, keeping in awe the Bay of Portingale and all the ocean by the British shore. And by this means, I'll win the world at last.
Yet set a ransom on me, Tamburlaine.
What? Thinkest thou Tamburlaine esteems thy cold? I'll make the kings of India, ere I die, dig for treasure to appease my wrath. Come, bind them both, and one lead in the Turk. The Turkess let my love's maid lead away.
Dare you touch my sacred arms? Mohammed! Leave me, Mohammed!
Oh, cursed God that makes us thus the slaves to Thisians, rude and barbarous!
Come, bring them in! And for this happy conquest, triumph and solemnize a martial feast!
Awake, ye men of Memphis! Hear the clang of Scythian trumpets! Hear the basilisks that roaring shake Damascus turrets down! The rogue of Volga holds Xenocrate, my daughter, for his concubine, and with a troop of thieves and vagabonds hath spread his colours to our high disgrace, while my faint-hearted base Egyptians lie slumbering on the flowery banks of Nile, as crocodiles that unaffrighted rest while thundering cannons rattle on their skins.
Nay, mighty Sultan, had your greatness seen the frowning looks of fiery Tamburlaine, that with his terror and imperious eyes commands the hearts of his associates, it might amaze your royal majesty.
Villain, I tell thee, were that Tamburlaine as monstrous as Gorgon, prince of hell, the Sultan would not start a foot from him. But speak, what power hath he?
Mighty lord, 300,000 men in armour-clad upon their prancing steeds disdainfully, 500,000 footmen threatening shot, shaking their swords, their spears and iron bills, as bristle pointed as a thorny wood. Their warlike engines and munition exceed the forces of their martial men.
Nay, could their numbers countervail the stars, or ever-drizzling drops of April showers, or withered leaves that autumn shaketh down, yet not a man should live to rue their fall.
So might your highness, had you time to sort your fighting men and raise your royal host. But Tamburlaine, by expedition, advantage takes of your unreadiness.
Let him take all the advantages he can. Yet in revenge of fair Xenocrate, whom he detaineth in despite of us, this arm should send him down to Erebus, to shroud his shame in darkness of the night.
Pleaseth your mightiness to understand. His resolution far exceedeth all. The first day, when he pitcheth down his tents, white is their hue, and on his silver crest a snowy feather-spangled white he bears, to signify the mildness of his mind, that satiate with spoil refuseth blood. But when Aurora mounts the second time, as red as scarlet is his furniture, then must his kindled wrath be quenched with blood, not sparing any that can manage arms.
But if these threats move not submission, black are his colours. Black pavilion, his spear, shield, his horse, his armour, plumes, and jetty feathers, menace death and hell. Without respect of sex, degree, or age, he razeth all his foes with fire and sword.
Merciless villain, peasant, ignorant of lawful arms or martial discipline, Pillage and murder are his usual trades. The slave usurps the glorious name of war. But methinks the fair Arabian king that hath been disappointed by this slave of my fair daughter and his princely love might have fresh reason to go war with us and be revenged for her disparagement.
Whoa! Bring out my footstool!
Lose Bajazeth from his cage!
Holy priests of heavenly Mahomet, that sacrificing slice and cut your flesh, staining his altars with your purple blood, make heaven to frown, and every fixed star to suck up poison from the Moorish fens, and pour it in this glorious tyrant's throat.
The chiefest god! First mover of that sphere encased with thousands ever-shining lamps, will sooner burn the glorious frame of heaven than it should so conspire my overthrow. But villain, thou that wishest this to me, fall prostrate on the low disdainful earth, and be the footstool of great Tamburlaine, that I may rise into my royal throne.
First shalt thou rip my bowels with thy sword, and sacrifice my heart to death and hell, before I yield to such a slavery.
Stoop, villain! Stoop! Stoop! For so he bids that may command thee piecemeal to be torn, or scattered like the lofty cedar trees struck with the voice of thundering Jupiter!
Then as I look down, dread god of hell, with airborne scepter strike this hateful earth, and make it swallow both of us at once.
Now, clear the triple region of the air, and let the majesty of heaven behold the scourge and terror tread on emperors! Smile, stars that reigned at my nativity, and dim the brightness of your neighbour lamps. For I, the chiefest lamp of all the earth, first rising in the east with mild aspect, will send up fire to your turning spheres, and cause the sun to borrow light off you. My sword struck fire from his coat of steel, as when a fiery exhalation wrapped in the bowels of a freezing cloud, fighting for passage, makes the welkin crack and casts a flash of lightning to the earth. But when I march to wealthy Persia, or leave Damascus and the Egyptian fields, as was the fame of Clemene's brain-sick son that almost brent the axle tree of heaven, so shall our swords, our lances, and our shot fill all the air with fiery meteors! And then, when the sky shall wax as red as blood, it shall be said, I made it red myself, to make me think of naught but blood and war!
Unworthy king, that by thy cruelty unlawfully usurps the Persian seat, dost thou keep his kingly body in a cage that roofs of gold and sun-bright palaces should have prepared to entertain his grace? And treading him beneath thy loathsome feet, whose feet the kings of Africa have kissed.
You must devise some torment worse, my lord, to make these captives rein their lavish tongues.
Xenocrate, look better to your slave!
She is my handmaid slave, and she shall look that these abuses flow not from her tongue. Chide her, Anipe.
Let these be warnings, then, for you, my slave, how you abuse the person of the king. Or else I swear to have you whipped stark naked.
Great Tamburlaine, great in my overthrow, ambitious pride shall make thee fall as low, for treading on the back of Bajazeth, that should be horsed on 4 mighty kings.
Thy names and titles and thy dignities are fled from Bajazeth, and remain with me. Cage him once again!
Is this a place for mighty measures? Confusion light on him that helps feed us!
There! While he lives, shall Bajazeth be kept, and where I go be thus in triumph drawn. And thou, his wife, shall feed him with the scraps my servitors shall bring thee from my board. For he that gives him other food than this shall sit by him and starve to death himself. This is my mind, and I will have it so! The ages that shall talk of Tamburlaine shall talk how I caged great Bajazeth. These Moors that drew him from Bithynia to fair Damascus, where we now remain, shall lead him with us wheresoe'er we go. To Achilles and my loving followers! Now may we see Damascus' lofty towers, like to the shadows of the pyramids, that with their beauties grace the Memphian fields. The golden statues on the city walls shall not defend it from our battering shot. The townsmen dress in silk and cloth of gold, and every house is as a treasury. The men, the treasure, and the town are ours!
Your tents of white now pitched before the gates, and gentle flags of amity displayed. I doubt not but the governor will yield, offering Damascus to your majesty.
So shall he have his life, and all the rest. But if he stay until the bloody flag be once advanced on my vermilion tent, he dies, and those that kept us out so long. And when they see me march in black array, with mournful streamers hanging down their heads, where in that city all the world contained, not one should scape but perish by our swords!
Yet would you have some pity for my sake, because it is my country and my father's?
Not for the world, if I have sworn Xenocrate.
No!
Come!
My Lord Sultan of Egypt!
My Lord King of Araby! Methinks we march as Meleager did, environed with brave Argolian knights, to chase the savage Caledonian boar. A monster of 500,000 heads, compact of rapine, piracy, and spoil.
'Tis true.
The scum of men, the hate and scourge of God, raves in Egyptia, and annoyeth us. My lord, it is the bloody Tamburlaine, a sturdy felon and a base-bred thief, by murder raised to the Persian crown, that dare control us in our territories.
Indeed, good Sultan.
To tame the pride of this presumptuous beast, join your Arabians with the Sultan's power, let us unite our royal bands in one, and hasten to remove Damascus' siege. It is a blemish to the majesty and high estate of mighty emperors that such a base, usurping vagabond should brave a king or wear a princely crown.
Renowned Sultan, have you lately heard the overthrow of mighty Bajazeth about the confines of Bithynia? The slavery wherewith Tamburlaine doth persecute the noble Turk and his great empress?
I have, and sorrow for his bad success. But, noble lord of great Arabia, be so persuaded that I, the Sultan, am dismayed with tidings of his fall, as in the haven when the pilot stands and views a stranger's ship rent in the wind and shivered against a craggy rock. Yet in compassion to his wretched state, a sacred vow to heaven and him I make, that Tamburlaine shall rue the day, the hour, he kept my fair Xenocrate so long, as concubine, I fear, to feed his lust.
Let grief and fury hasten on revenge. Let Tamburlaine for his offences feel such plagues as heaven and we can pour on him. My mind presageth fortunate success, and Tamburlaine, my spirit doth foresee the utter ruin of thy men and thee.
Then rear your standards. Let your sounding drums direct our soldiers to defend Damascus walls. Now, Tamburlaine, the mighty Sultan comes to dim thy baseness and obscurity, famous for nothing but for theft and spoil, to raise and scatter thy inglorious crew of Scythians and slavish Persians.
Now hang our bloody colours by Damascus, reflecting hues of blood upon their heads while they walk, quivering on their city walls, half dead for fear before they feel my wrath. Then let us freely banquet and carouse full bowls of wine unto the god of war that means to fill your helmets full of gold. And make Damascus spoils as rich to you, my friends, as was to Jason Colchis' golden fleece. And now, Bajazeth, hast thou any stomach?
I such a stomach, cruel Tamburlaine, as I could willingly feed upon thy blood-raw heart.
Nay, thine own is easier to come by. Pluck out that, and 'twill serve thee and thy wife. Ha! Well, Xenocrate, Techeles, and the rest fall to your victuals. Sirrah, why fall you not too? Are you so daintily brought up you cannot eat your own flesh?
First legions of devils shall tear thee in pieces.
Villain, knowest thou to whom thou speakest?
Now let him alone. Here, eat, sir. Take it from my sword's point, or I'll thrust it to thy heart.
He stamps it under his feet, my lord.
Take it up, villain, and eat it, or I will make thee slice the brawns off thy arms into carbonados and eat them.
Nay, 'twere better he killed his wife, and then she shall be sure not to be starved, and he be provided for a month's victuals beforehand.
Here is my dagger. Dispatch her while she is fat, for if she lives but a while longer, she will fall into a consumption with fretting, and then she will not be worth the eating.
Dost thou think that Mahomet will suffer this?
Oi, 'tis like he will, when he cannot let it.
Go to. Fall to your meat. What? Not a bit? Belike he hath not been watered today. Give him some drink. How now, Xenocrate? Doth not the Turk and his wife make a goodly show at a banquet?
Yes, my lord.
Methinks 'tis a great deal better than a consort of music.
Yet music would do well to cheer, Xenocrate. Pray thee, tell, why art thou so sad? But why is it?
My lord, to see my father's town besieged, the country wasted where myself was born, how can it but afflict my very soul? If any love remain in you, my lord, or if my love unto your majesty may merit favour at your highness' hands, then raise your siege from fair Damascus walls, and with my father make a friendly truce.
Xenocrate, were Egypt's Jove's own land, yet would I with my sword make Jove to stoop. I will confute those blind geographers that make a triple region of the world, who exclude regions which I mean to trace, and with this pen reduce them to a map, calling the provinces, cities, and towns after my name and thine, Xenocrate. Here at Damascus will I make the point that shall begin the perpendicular, and wouldst thou have me buy thy father's love with such a loss? Tell me, Xenocrate.
Honour still wait on happy Tamburlaine, yet give me leave to plead for him, my lord.
Content thyself. Thy father's person shall be safe, and all the friends of fair Xenocrate, if, with their lives, they will be pleased to yield. For Egypt and Arabia must be mine. Feed, you slave! Thou mayest think thyself happy to be fed from my platter.
My stomach, full of idle heat, draws bloody humours from my feeble parts, preserving life by hastening cruel death. My veins are pale, my sinews hard and dry, my joints benumbed. Unless I eat, I die.
Eat, Bajazeth. Let us live in spite of them, looking some happy power will pity and enlarge us.
Here, Turk! Wilt thou have a clean trencher?
Aye, tyrant, and more meat.
Oh, soft, sir. You must be dieted. Too much eating will make you surfeit.
So it would, my lord, especially having so small a walk and so little exercise.
Music for the second course.
Yay!
A tray full of kingly crowns. Theridamus, Tekeles, and do some cassonade. Here are the dishes you desire to finger, are they not?
Aye, my lord, but none save kings must feed with thee.
Aye, there's enough for us to see them and for Tamburlaine only to enjoy them.
Now take these 3 crowns that wore the Sultan of Egypt, the King of Arabia, and the Governor of Damascus. I crown you here. Theridamus, King of Algiers. Tekeles, King of Fez. And Nusum Cassonay, King of Morocco. How say you to this, Turk? These are not your contributory kings.
Nor shall they long be thine. I warrant them.
Kings of Algiers, Morocco, and the Fez.
Aye.
You that have marched with happy Tamburlaine as far as from the frozen place of heaven unto the watery morning's ruddy bower, and thence by land unto the torrid zone, deserve these titles I endow you with, by valour and by magnanimity. Your births shall be no blemish to your fame, for virtue is the fount whence honour springs, and they are worthy she investeth kings.
And since your highness hath so well vouchsafed, if we deserve them not with higher meeds, take them away again and make us slaves.
Well said, Theridamus. When holy fates shall establish me in strong Egyptia, we mean to travel to the Antarctic Pole, conquering the people underneath our feet, and be renowned as never emperors were. Zenocrate,
my lord,
I will not crown thee yet until with greater honours I be graced.
Still doth this man, or rather god of war, batter our walls and beat our turrets down. See, his tents have now been altered with terrors to the last and cruelest hue. His coal-black colours everywhere advanced threaten our city with a general spoil. And if we should, with common rights of arms, offer our safeties to his clemency, I fear the custom proper to his sword, which he observes as parcel of his fame, intending so to terrify the world by any innovation or remorse, will never be dispensed with till our deaths. Therefore, for these our harmless virgin's sake, whose honours and whose lives rely on him, let us have hope that their unspotted prayers, their blubbered cheeks and hearty humble moans will melt his fury into some remorse and use us like a loving conqueror.
Humble sweets or imprecations, uttered with tears of wretchedness and blood shed from the heads and hearts of all our sex, might have entreated your obdurate breast to entertain some care of our security. These more than dangerous warrants of our death had never been erected as they be.
No, you depend on such weak helps as we.
Oh, lovely virgins think our country's care, of love, of honour, loath to be enthralled to foreign powers and rough imperious yokes, would not with too much cowardice or fear, before all hopes of rescue were denied, submit yourselves and us to servitude. Therefore, in that your safeties and our own, your honours, liberties and lives were weighed in equal care and balance with our own. Endure as we the malice of our stars, the wrath of Tamburlaine and the power of wars, or be the means the overweighing heavens have kept to qualify these hot extremes and bring us pardon in your cheerful looks.
Then here, before the majesty of heaven and holy patrons of Egyptia, with knees and hearts submissive, we entreat grace to our words and pity to our looks, that this device may prove propitious. and through the eyes and ears of Tamburlaine convey events of mercy to his heart. Grant that these signs of victory we yield may bind the temples of his conquering head to hide the folded furrows of his brows and shadow his displeased countenance with happy looks of ruth and lenity. We leave, my lord and loving countrymen, what simple virgins may persuade, we will.
Farewell, sweet virgins, on whose safe return depends our city, liberty, and lives.
Oh, what? Are the turtle doves strayed out of their nests? Alas, poor fools, must you be first shall feel the sworn destruction of Damascus? They knew my custom. Could they not as well have sent ye out when first my milk-white flags through which sweet mercy through her gentle beams reflects them on their disdainful eyes, as now, when fury and insensate hate fling slaughtering terror from my coal-black tents, and tells, in truth, submission comes too late.
Most happy king and emperor of the earth, image of honor and nobility, pity our plight. Oh, pity poor Damascus. Pity old age, within whose silver hairs honor and reverence evermore have reigned.
Pity the marriage bed, where many a lord in prime and glory of his loving joy embraceth now with tears of ruth and blood, as well for grief our ruthless governor hath thus refused the mercy of thy hand, whose sceptre angels kiss and furies dread, as for their liberties, their loves, or lives. Pity, oh pity, sacred emperor, the prostrate service of this wretched town.
Virgins, in vain you labour to prevent that which mine honour swears shall be performed.
No.
Behold my sword.
No.
What see you at the point?
Oh, nothing but fear and fatal steel, my lord.
Your fearful minds are thick and misty then, for there sits death.
No.
There sits imperious death, keeping his circuit by the slicing edge. But I am pleased you shall not see him there. He now is seated on my horsemen's spears, and on their points his fleshless body feeds. To Kelly, straight, go charge a few of them to charge these dames and show my servant death, sitting in scarlet on their armoured spears. Away with them, I say, and shew them death! I will not spare these proud Egyptians, nor change my martial observations for all the wealth of Gion's golden waves. Or for the love of Venus would she leave the angry god of arms and lie with me. They have refused the offer of their lives, and know my customs are as peremptory as wrathful planets' death or destiny. Achilles, have your horsemen shown the virgin's death?
They have, my lord, and on Damascus walls will hoist up the slaughtered carcasses.
A sight most painful to their souls, I think. But go, my lords, put the rest to the sword.
Aye.
Oh, fair Zenocrate. Divine Zenocrate, that in thy passion for thy country's love and fear to see thy kingly father's harm, with her dishevelled wipes thy watery cheeks, and, like to Flora in her morning's pride, shaking her silver tresses in the air, rain'st on the earth resolved pearls in showers, and sprinklest sapphires on thy shining face. Where beauty, mother to the muses, sits and comments volumes with her ivory pen, taking instructions from thy flowing eyes. Eyes. When that Abena steps to heaven in silence of thy solemn evening's walk, making the mantle of the richest night, the moon, the planets, and the meteors light. There, angels in their crystal armors fight a doubtful battle with my tempted thoughts. For Egypt's freedom and the Sultan's life, his life that so consumes Zenocrate. her sorrows lay more siege unto my soul than all my army to Damascus' walls. And neither Persia's sovereign nor the Turk troubled my senses with conceit of foil so much by much as doth Xenocrate. What is beauty, saith my sufferings then? If all the pens that ever poets held had fed the feeling of their masters' thoughts, and every sweetness that inspired their hearts, their minds and muses on admired themes, if all their heavenly quintessence they still from their immortal flowers of poesy, wherein as in a mirror we perceive the highest reaches of a human wit, if these had made one poem's period, and all combined in beauty's worthiness, yet should there hover in their restless heads one thought, one grace, one wonder at the least, which in 2 words no virtue can digest. Oh, but how unseemly it is for my sex, my discipline of arms and chivalry, my nature and the terror of my name, to harbour thoughts effeminate and faint. Save only that in beauty's just applause, with whose instinct the soul of man is touched, and every warrior that is rapt with love of fame, of valour, and of victory must needs have beauty beat on his conceits. I, thus conceiving and subduing both, that which hath stooped the chiefest of the gods, even from the fiery-spangled veil of heaven, to feel the lovely warmth of shepherds' flames and masking cottages of strewed reeds, shall give the world to note for all my birth that virtue solely is a sum of glory, and fashions men with true nobility. Who's within there? Hath Bajazeth been fed today?
Aye, my lord.
Bring him forth, and let us know if the town be ransacked.
The town is ours, my lord, and fresh supply of conquest and of spoil is offered us.
That's well, Achilles. What's the news?
The Sultan and the Arabian king together march on us with such eager violence as if there were nowhere but one with us.
No more there is not, I warrant thee, Achilles.
We know the victory is ours, my lord.
But let us save the reverend Sultan's life. For fair Xenocrate, that so laments his state.
That we will chiefly see unto, Theridamas. For sweet Xenocrate, whose worthiness deserves a conquest over every heart. And now, my footstool. If I lose the field, you hope of liberty and restitution? Here let him stay, my masters, till we have made us ready for the field. Pray for us, Bajazeth. We are going.
Go, never to return with victory. Millions of men encompass thee about and gore thy body with as many wounds. Sharp-forked arrows light upon thy horse. Furies from the blackest Lethean lake break up the earth, and with their firebrands enforce thee run upon the baneful pikes. Volleys of shot pierce through thy charmed skin, and every bullet dipped in poisoned drugs. All roaring cannons sever all thy joints, making thee mount as high as eagles soar.
Let all the swords and lances in the field stick in his breast as in their proper rooms. At every pore let blood come dropping forth, that lingering pains may massacre his heart, and madness send his damned soul to hell.
Fair Zabina, we may curse his power, the heavens may frown, the earth for anger quake. But such a star hath influence in his sword as rules the skies and countermands the gods, more than the Cimmerian Styx or destiny.
Then is there left no Muhammad, no God, no fiend, no fortune, nor no hope of end to our infamous, monstrous slaveries. Gape, earth, and let the fiends infernal view a hell as hopeless and as full of fear as the blasted banks of Erebus, where shaking ghosts with their ever-howling groans hover about the ugly ferryman to get a passage to Elysium. Why should we live? Oh, wretches, beggars, slaves. Why live we, Bajazeth, in this oppression that all the world will see and love to scorn the former triumphs of our mightiness in this obscure, infernal servitude?
O life, more loathsome to my vexed thoughts than noisome parbreak of the Stygian snakes, which fills the nooks of hell with standing air, infecting all the ghosts with cureless griefs. O dreary engines of my loathed sight, that see my crown, my honor, and my name thrust under yoke and thraldom of a thief, why feed ye still on day's accursed beams, and sink not quite into my tortured soul? You see my wife, my queen and empress, brought up and propped by the hand of fame, queen of 15 contributory queens, now thrown to rooms of black abjection, smeared with blots of basest drudgery, and villainous to shame, disdain, and misery. Accursed Bazajet, that would with pity cheer Zabina's heart, and make our souls resolve in ceaseless tears. Sharp hunger bites upon and gripes the root, from whence the issues of my thoughts do break. Oh, poor Zabina. Oh, my queen, my queen. Fetch me some water for my burning breast, to cool and comfort me with longer date, that in the shortened sequel of my life I may pour forth my soul into thine arms with words of love.
Sweet Bajazeth, I will prolong thy life as long as any blood or spark of breath can quench or cool the torments of my grief.
Now, Bajazeth, abridge thy painful days, and beat the brains out of thy conquered head, since other means are all forbidden me, that may be ministers of my decay. O highest lamp of ever-living Jove, accursed day infected with my griefs, hide now thy stained face in endless night, and shut the windows of the lightsome heavens. Let ugly darkness with her rusty coach, ingirt with tempests, wrapped in pitchy clouds, smother the earth with never-fading mists. And let her horses from their nostrils breathe rebellious winds and dreadful thunderclaps, that in this terror Tamburlaine may live, and my pine soul, resolved in liquid air, may still excruciate his tormented thoughts. Then let the stony dart of senseless cold pierce through the center of my withered heart, and make a passage for my loathed life.
What do mine eyes behold? My husband dead, his skull all riven in twain, his brains dashed out, the brains of Bajazeth, my lord and sovereign. Oh, Bajazeth, my husband and my lord. Oh, Bajazeth, oh, Turk, oh, Emperor. Give him his liquor? Not I. Bring milk and fire, and my blood I bring him again. Tear me in pieces. Give me the sword with a ball of wildfire upon it. Down with him, down with him. The sun was down, streamers white, red, black. Here, here, here. Fling the meat in his face. Tamburlaine. Let the soldiers be buried. Hell, death, Tamburlaine. Hell. Make ready my coach, my chair, my jewels. I come. I come. I come.
Wretched Zenocrate, that lives to see Damascus's walls dyed with Egyptians' blood, thy father's subjects and thy countrymen. The streets strewn with dissevered joints of men and wounded bodies gasping yet for life.
Oh, sweet madam.
But most accursed to see the sun-bright troop of heavenly virgins and unspotted maids, whose looks might make the angry god of arms to break his sword and mildly treat of love, on horsemen's lances to be hoisted up, and guiltlessly endure a cruel death.
Oh, madam.
For every fell and stout Tartarian steed that stamped on others with their thundering hoofs when all their riders charged their quivering spears. Ah, Tamburlaine, wert thou the cause of this, that term'st Xenocrate thy dearest love, whose lives were dearer to Xenocrate than her own life, or aught save thine own love? But see! Another bloody spectacle! Ah, wretched eyes, the enemies of my heart! How are ye glutted with these grievous objects? Behold, the Turk and his great empress! See, Anipe, if they breathe or no!
No breath, nor sense, nor motion in them both. Ah, madam, this their slavery hath enforced, and ruthless cruelty of Tamburlaine.
Earth, cast up fountains from thy entrails, and wet thy cheeks for their untimely deaths. Blush, heaven, that gave them honour at their birth, and let them die a death so barbarous. Those that are proud of fickle empery, and place their chiefest good in earthly pomp. Ah, Tamburlaine, my love, sweet Tamburlaine, that fight'st for sceptres and for slippery crowns. Behold, the Turk and his great empress. Thou that in conduct of thy happy stars sleepst every night with conquest on thy brows, and yet wouldst shun the wavering turns of war in fear and feeling of the like distress. Behold, the Turk and his great empress. Ah, mighty Jove and holy Mahomet, pardon my love. Oh, pardon his contempt of earthly fortune and respect of pity. And let not conquest, ruthlessly pursued, be equally against his life incensed in this great Turk and hapless empress. And pardon me, that was not moved with ruth to see them live so long in misery. Ah, what may chance to thee, Xenocrate?
Madam, content yourself, and be resolved. Your love hath fortune so at his command, that she shall stay and turn her wheel no more, as long as life maintains his mighty arm that fights for honour to adorn your head.
Madam!
What other heavy news now brings Philemus?
Madam, your father and the Arabian king, the first admirer of your excellence, both come as Turnus 'gainst Aeneas did, armed with lance into the Egyptian fields, ready for battle against my lord the king.
Now shame and duty, love and fear present 1,000 sorrows to my martyred soul. Whom should I wish the fatal victory when my poor pleasures are divided thus, and racked by duty from my cursed heart? My father and my first betrothed love must fight against my life and present love, wherein the change I use condemns my faith and makes my deeds infamous through the world. To pacify my country and my love must Tamburlaine by their resistless powers, with virtue of a gentle victory, conclude a league of honour to my hope. Then, as the powers divine have preordained, with happy safety of my father's life, send like defence of fair Arabia.
What cursed power guides the murdering hands of this infamous tyrant?
no escape may save his enemies, nor fortune keep themselves from victory.
Fair King of Arabia, my once betrothed love.
Xenocrate! Lie down, Arabia, wounded to the death. And let Xenocrate's fair eyes behold that as for her thou bearest these wretched arms, even so for her thou diest in these arms, leaving thy blood for witness of thy love.
Too dear a witness for such love, my lord. Behold Xenocrate, the cursed object whose fortunes never mastered her griefs. Behold her wounded in conceit for thee, as much as thy fair body is for me.
Then shall I die with full contented heart, having beheld divine Xenocrate, whose sight with joy would take away my life, as now it bringeth sweetness to my wound, if I had not been wounded as I am. Ah, that the deadly pangs I suffer now would lend an hour's license to my tongue, to make discourse of some sweet accidents, have chanced thy merits in this worthless bondage, and that I might be privy to the state of thy deserved contentment and thy love. By making now a virtue of thy sight, to drive all sorrow from my fainting soul, since death denies me further cause of joy. Deprived of care, my heart with comfort dies, since thy desired hand shall close mine eyes.
Come, happy father of Xenocrate, a title higher than thy sultan's name.
I thank thee, puissant Tamburlaine.
Though my right hand have thus enthralled thee, thy princely daughter here shall set thee free. She that hath calmed the fury of my sword, which had ere this been bathed in streams of blood as vast and deep as is Euphrates or the Nile.
Oh, sight thrice welcome to my joyful soul, to see the king, my father, issue safe from dangerous battle of my conquering love.
Well met, my only dear Xenocrate, though with the loss of Egypt and my crown.
'Twas I, my lord, that gat the victory, and therefore grieve not at your overthrow, since I shall render all into your hands, and add more strength to your dominions than ever yet confirmed the Egyptian crown. The god of war resigns his room to me, meaning to make me general of the world. Jove, viewing me in arms, looks pale and wan, fearing my power should pull him from his throne. And she, my lord, a sight of strange import. Emperors and kings lie breathless at my feet. The Turk and his great empress, as it seems, left to themselves while we were at the fight, have desperately dispatched their slavish lives. With them Arabia too hath left his life. All sights of power to grace my victory. And such are objects fit for Tamburlaine, wherein, as in a mirror, may be seen his honour, that consists in shedding blood when men presume to manage arms with him.
Mighty hath God and Mahomet made thy hand renowned, Tamburlaine, to whom all kings of force must yield their crowns and emperors, and I am pleased with this my overthrow.
Then let me find no further time to grace your daughter's princely temples with the Persian crown. But here these kings that on my fortunes wait shall now, adjoining all their hands with mine, invest her here the Queen of Persia. What saith the noble Sultan and Xenocrate?
I yield with thanks and protestations of endless honour to thee for her love.
Then doubt I not, but fair Xenocrate will soon consent to satisfy us both.
Else should I much forget myself, my lord.
And let us set the crown upon her head, that long hath lingered for so high a seat.
My hand is ready to perform the deed, for now her marriage time shall work us rest.
And here's the crown, my lord. Help set it on.
Then sit thou down, divine Xenocrate, and here we crown thee Queen of Persia, and all the kingdoms and dominions that late the power of Tamburlaine subdued. As Juno, when the giants were suppressed, that darted mountains at her brother Jove, so looks my love, shadowing in her brows triumphs and trophies for my victories. to gratify thee, sweet Xenocrate. Egyptians, Moors, and men of Asia from Barbary unto the western India shall pay a yearly tribute to thy sire, and from the bounds of Afric to the banks of Ganges shall his mighty arm extend. And now, my lords and loving followers, that purchase kingdoms by your martial deeds, cast off your armour, put on scarlet robes, mount up your royal places of estate environed with troops of noblemen, and there make laws to rule your provinces. Hang up your weapons on Alcides' doorposts, for Tamburlaine takes truce with all the world, with this great Turk and his fair empress. Then, after all these solemn exequies, we will our rites of marriage solemnize.
In Tamburlaine by Christopher Marlowe, Tamburlaine was played by Con O'Neill. Mycetes, King of Persia by Oliver Ford Davis, and Khosrow by Kenneth Cranham. Techeles was played by Sean Prendergast, Theridamas by Ewan Bailey, and Xenocrate by Susie Riddell. Bajazeth was Danny Sapani, Zabina, Noma Dumetsuni, Agaidas, Joseph Kloska, Sultan, Edward de Souza, Yuzum Kazani, Don Gillet, Ortigius, Paul Stonehouse, Meander, Patrick Brennan, Menaphon, Robert Blythe, King of Morocco, Patrice Nyambana, Anipi, Stephanie Racine, Abia, Eleanor Crooks, Second Virgin, Sarah Tom, Basso, Will Howard, and the attendant, Adam Nagaitis. Original music was composed and performed by Nikolai Abrahamson, and the play was adapted and directed by Peter Kavanagh.